Before we begin, make a note of the footage you're seeing on screen right now. I will be running through OP10 Washburn Refinery with all white, all OP0 gear, and no bar. I am doing this to demonstrate how easy Ultimate Vault Hunter mode and OP levels are when you follow some simple rules and play intelligently. That's right, I'm playing Zero on OP10 with an OP0 shield and still not dying. If you would like to see a full game playthrough challenge run also demonstrating that point, check out my challenge run where I beat OP10 with no slag, no red text gear, and no bar. This game is simply nowhere near as hard as this community or its most popular content creators have made it out to be. I had a bunch of screenshots ready to go to demonstrate how bad the misinformation that surrounds this game truly is, but with every fiber of my being, I'm going to resist crapping on the Borderlands community for once and just get into the video. Just understand most of what you have heard about enemies being bullet sponges, everything killing you in one shot, having to only use the top 3 meta playstyles. All of that is objectively verifiably false. Feel free to check out my other content, where I successfully use a wide variety of builds and weapons to quickly dispatch even OP10 enemies. The reason UVHM and OP levels feel so hard at first is because normal and true mode were so poorly balanced you never had to learn to play the game to beat them. You never had to match elements, slag, go for crits, use cover, build intelligently, or generally use your brain at all. UVHM is not as hard as people make it out to be, but there is a difficulty spike because at this point the game expects you to at least know the basics. I have separated this guide into 2 main sections, 6 basic tips and 4 more advanced tips. Just by following the 6 basics, you will breeze through base Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. And once you become a better player, you can actually ignore many of these rules. But when you're first learning, you need to stick to them. What are the 6 basics? Thank you for asking. Okay, but first, just a quick reminder, do not level past 50 before starting UVHM. You will not be able to get gear past level 50 until you get to UVHM, so over-leveling will actually put you at a disadvantage since enemies scale with you. If you end up in this situation, your best bet for getting on-level gear is to farm chests that you can access without fighting enemies, such as the chest behind the Seraph Fender in the Torgue DLC. You can also farm Torque tokens in normal mode and spin them in UVHM. I would also recommend picking up a low-level Slag Pimpernel or Slagga before starting UVHM. The level doesn't matter for the slag potential. Speaking of slag, rule number 1, slag. In UVHM, slag lasts for 16 seconds and makes enemies take triple damage. You also swap weapons faster now. You need to be making intelligent use of either character skills or slagging equipment. In my opinion, the best slag tool is the Slag Pimpernel. It fires 7 total rounds that bloom out, and each projectile has 2 65% slag chances because of the splash damage. It also deals a lot of damage, making it efficient for stripping shields. It's fast, direct, and powerful. It will almost always slag an enemy with a single well-placed shot. However, it is hard to farm as it is a quest reward for completing Don't Copy That Floppy in the Captain Scarlet DLC. While there are ways to obtain multiple quest rewards, which I will cover later, it may not always be practical. The Slagga is the second best slag tool in my opinion, and has the advantage of being able to be repeatedly farmed from Tector Hodunk at the end of the Clan Wars questline. You can also use slag grenades, such as the Purple Magic Missile, obtained from Badass Wizards in the Dragon Keep DLC. It will spawn 4 Seeking Slag Orbs and regen grenade ammo for you, but slag grenades tend to be less efficient or slower than the Slag Pimpernel and the Slagga, in my opinion. However, they are absolutely still a great option. The Slag Transfusion will allow you to slag and heal with a single tool. The Slag Singularity can disrupt enemies and slag. It will just depend on your character and your personal playstyle which slagging tools you use. Maya, for example, has great slagging skills such as Ruin and Scorn, allowing her to use her weapon and grenade slots for other uses. Zero has poor healing skills, so a Slag Transfusion works very well for him. You have 4 weapon slots and a grenade slot for a reason. It's time to actually put them to use. And do remember, you can slag multiple enemies at once. 16 seconds is plenty of time for a skilled player to slag and kill multiple enemies. Number 2, match elements. Just match the pretty colors. Red on red, blue on blue. Now, this one is a little more complicated. Green on yellow. This will essentially double your damage. While slagging and matching elements, you are essentially dealing 6 times damage. Most enemies fall like grass under the blade to this alone in base UVHM. If enemies feel like bullet sponges, you're doing something wrong. Elemental damage can further be boosted by the best item in the game, the Bone of the Ancients. This is obtainable from legendary loot midgets once you get to Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. Farm a full set of these and rotate them out to match your elemental damage. They come in fire, shock, and corrosive damage, And they also give you increased action skill cooldown rate. They are insanely good. Legendary loot midgets also drop the Heart of the Ancients, another great item to be on the lookout for. You can pick up the Doctor's Orders quest before you get to the Wildlife Preserve area, and this will greatly increase your chance of getting loot midgets, especially in the room with the 4 boxes right before the original holding cell Bloodwing was in. Make sure to not pick up any of the vials and don't complete the Doctor's Orders quest. This farm is easiest to do before you progress the story enough to open Bloodwing's door, as you will have to deal with fewer enemies before you open the door. The easiest loot midget farm is in the quest Space Cowboy in the Commander Lilith DLC. Make sure not to pick up the magazine in the hut when you do this quest, and don't complete the quest either. You can repeatedly farm loot midgets this way. Also make sure not to complete the Kleptocurrency mission in this DLC either, as it has the best tubby farm. Number 3, manage your health. Like basically every video game ever, you need some way to do this. Maya can rely on her healing skills like Sweet Release, Life Tap, and Elated. A character like Zero will need to use something like a Transfusion Grenade. Moxie weapons can do this as well, but aren't completely necessary. I almost never play with them. You just have to have some way to get your health back. Zero also has the Legendary Hunter to help here, and even a relic like the Heart of the Ancients, which gives you 1 weapon damage bonus, increased fight for your lifetime, and second wind health will get the job done. The Grog Nozzle is very efficient for healing, but teaches you bad habits, and the drunk effect is terrible for most weapons. Because of a generous mechanic called Health Gate, you can never be killed in a single shot if you're above 50% health. If you would take lethal damage when above 50% health, you will actually gain 1.2 seconds of invincibility, and you'll be left with a sliver of health. Number 4, I can't believe I need to say this, but based off how many people I see on the Borderlands 2 subreddit complaining about the game being too hard while having severely underleveled gear, apparently I need to. Don't use severely underleveled gear. You're in UVHM now, the entire game literally scales to your level, so there's no excuse. If you have good fundamentals, you can progress with the gear you find. Elemental purples will absolutely get the job done. However, Gearbox has given you a gift with the Mercenary Day DLC. If you fast travel to Marcus Mercenary Shop, you will begin a short Headhunter DLC. Upon completing it, you will be able to raid a generous loot train. And remember, this thing scales with you. You can always come back here if you're in a pinch or having particularly bad luck with loot drops. As long as you're using on-level purple gear and matching elements, you're gonna do fine. Number 5, make use of cover. You see all that stuff lying around everywhere? It isn't just for decoration. It's a forbidden technique in this community, but you can actually stand behind things. Wild, I know. This is especially important for a more fragile character like Zero. However, certain characters such as Maya can get by without doing this if you are skilled enough at using her skills to heal and disrupt and dispatch enemies. Just remember, you don't have to stand still out in the open. You can make use of cover and you can strafe. The ability to aim, shoot, and move at the same time is a great skill to have in this game, as in most shooters. As a bit of an aside, remember to keep an eye on your minimap. This is a goldmine of information and can really help you stay alive. Number 6, stop using the bee shield. Unless you're raiding, the damage from the bee just is not necessary and it provides no defensiveness. Check out my volcano video if you want to see this point in action. In that video, I do multiple runs, demonstrating that you don't need the bee to kill things, but you do need a defensive shield to survive. The bee shield teaches you bad habits. You don't have to build intelligently or land crits to kill enemies, but it comes at the cost of having no defense. If you're running around mobbing with the bee shield, it's no wonder you think this game is so hard. In my opinion, the blockade is the best defensive shield in the game, with the antagonist being a close second. For non-uniques, purple turtle shields are excellent because they give you a good mix of overall shield stats, and you can make the health reduction work in your favor because of Health Gate. Just make sure the turtle shield doesn't reduce your health to 1, then you will die as soon as you take damage. And before moving on, I want to mention I will link several good resources in the description. Loot Lemon will show you where to get all the gear in the game, and I will also link to stuff like Demonite's Splash Damage Guide, and just generally other information you might find useful. Those are the 6 basic tips. You will be hard pressed to find someone doing all of those things and still struggling in base UVHM. If somehow you are, I would have to see your gameplay to tell you what you're doing wrong. But now let's take a look at some more advanced tips. Advanced tip 1, employ all 5 lines of defense. You actually have 5 different lines of defense, and you only die when all 5 are exhausted. As I mentioned previously, cover is your first line of defense. Make use of it. Strafing is your second line of defense. You don't have to stand still. Your shield and health bars are your third line of defense, not your first. You can't expect to just tank a bunch of hits on the harder difficulty. You have to play intelligently to do well. You also have defensive skills to boost your health and shields. Ma has Ward, for example, while Axton has stuff like Willing and Preparation. Make use of these skills to benefit your health and shields. The fourth line of defense is Health Gate. Once your shields and health are depleted, you will gain 1.2 seconds of invincibility. Your final line of defense is Fight for your life. Just stay calm here and you can usually get back up. Don't give up until the very end. You will be surprised at how many clutch second wins you can get if you keep fighting until the end. You only die when all 5 of these are exhausted, and in most parts of the game, death isn't even punishing at all. You just lose a bit of cash, which basically pays for the ammo you get back, but enemies don't respawn or anything. Now there are some places where death is more punishing, such as Digistruct Peak, but by intelligently employing all 5 lines of defense, you will rarely die even on OP10. Check out my videos if you don't believe me. And again, do remember to keep an eye on your minimap, as this can really help your survivability. Intelligent positioning is just one of the best ways to survive. This means just being aware of where dangerous enemies are around you, being aware of where you're standing in relation to cover and in relation to the enemies. Don't rush out into the middle of a bunch of enemies, just be aware of your positioning. Advanced tip 2. Build intelligently and have a good understanding of your character. You have 4 weapon slots and 4 gear slots for a reason. Now it's time to use all of those intelligently and in combination with your character's skills to do well. For example, you could use 1 weapon slot for long range, 1 weapon for close range, 1 for a slag tool, and the final for a healing tool or a second winding tool. Just make sure each weapon has a different job. Make sure to cover the elemental damage you'll need for the area you're in. Use a good defensive shield, like I said, such as the Blockade, Antagonist, or Purple Turtle Shield. These are the best general use shields in my opinion. There are other good shields for certain situations of course, such as Krieg really liking the Rough Rider, or Melee Zero liking the Love Thumper. Make sure your class mod and relic are benefiting your weapons and build. For example, let's say you're playing Zero using the Infinity. He has many class mods that would benefit it. The Legendary Sniper has bugged critical damage that applies to all weapon types instead of just sniper rifles. One shot, one kill would constantly be active for the Infinity, and Precision would tighten the spread. But many other class mods would work. Legendary Killer, Chaotic Evil Rogue, Stalker, any of that stuff. You just need to use something to benefit it for the fastest killing results. For relics, again, the Bone of the Ancients is the best item in the game in my opinion. However, you could also use a Pistol Heart of the Ancients, or just a Pistol Aggression Relic, or just a regular Elemental Relic. A Vladoff Allegiance Relic would work, even a Sheriff's Badge. You get the point. You just need to make sure you're using a good class mod and relic that synergize with your build. Proficiency relics are great for progression. These are what give you action skill cooldown rate. So that's the gear half. For the skills half, again, you need to have a good understanding of your character's skills. Zero is a glass cannon. Deathmark is one of his best tools for quickly killing enemies. Some people seem to forget that they can apply Deathmark with melee attacks. Deception is great for his survivability. Velocity will benefit weapons with slow-moving projectiles, but it will hurt certain weapons like the Pimpernel and the Lauda. One Shot, One Kill and Killer work together really nicely, as Killer will let you reload almost instantly and get big damage off with it and One Shot, One Kill. Critical Ascension is incredible for raiding. Bore can insta-kill many enemies and it stops bullet deflection. Precision is great with shotguns and weapons with wide spreads, as it will tighten them, allowing you to land more pellets on an enemy. Two Fang is really good in general, but is a great way to get around a low fire rate. It's important to understand these skills and how to get the most out of them. Your kill skills will give you more damage and survivability, so you can be more aggressive when they're up, but you still don't need to be reckless. There are a lot of tips and tricks you can learn about your character. Zero, for example, can skip his decoy throw if you sight in for a split second before doing it. Check out the content of more experienced players and see what tips you can pick up from them. I have mostly Zero content, but a bit of my and Axton as well, so you can check out my content if you want, and I will link to others you might be able to learn from in the description. Advanced tip 3, be adaptable. This game has a wide variety of enemies and scenarios you will face. Conventional gun builds will not always be effective. For example, skeletons in Dragon Keep or witch doctors in the big game hunt. These enemies often require you to vary your approach. Instead of a conventional gun build, stuff like TD or chucking, Torg weaponry, launchers, weapons with splash damage, or melee builds will work really well here. I have many builds covering these tougher areas if you would like to check those out. The main point is when you encounter a roadblock, instead of smashing your face into it over and over, ask yourself if there's a different strategy you could employ to do better. Sometimes you might need to go farm for a different weapon. Generally speaking, rocket launchers are your get out of jail free card, but stuff like the fastball and baby maker for TD or chucking can deal with a lot of those unconventional enemies. The Pimpernel is great for enemies that are hard to crit, and just generally stuff like the Unkempt Herald and other splash weapons can also be very good in these situations. Sometimes you might encounter a tough boss like Jackenstein, who in my opinion is most susceptible to Vladov's sniper rifles as they provide the precision, damage, and fire rate needed for critting him. Instead of dying over and over trying to beat him with a melee build or something, take a few minutes to cool down and farm a Lyuda, which will tear him up. I have actually done a build dealing with him if you would like to check that out. So before we get into the final advice, I want to talk about how to get multiple quest rewards. You can do this whether you're on PC or console. If you're on PC, you have a lot of options. If you're on PC, you can use Gibbed, you can use read-only farming, you can use the community patch, you can have a friend join your game, you have a lot of options. Even if you're just a console player, here's what you do. You have your main character, Character 1, you have Character 1 complete the quest, but don't turn it in yet. Sign in with Character 2, now have Character 1 turn the quest in, and then drop the quest reward on the ground. Then dashboard with Character 1, make sure Character 1 does not save. However, Character 2 will still be in the game, and Character 2 can pick up the quest reward off the ground. Now Character 2 can save and quit, and the result will be Character 1, when he loads back in, will be at the point before he turned the quest in, but Character 2 will still have the quest reward, right? You can also use this to save Torque tokens. You can spend the Torque tokens and do the same thing, duplicate the item, and then dashboard so that you don't have to actually spend them. You can even do the same thing with Seraph Crystals. But some final advice, situational awareness and killing efficacy. Once you have mastered all aspects of the game, you'll be able to kill enemies very quickly, even on OP10. This in and of itself is actually one of the best ways to survive in this game. A very skilled player can quickly slag multiple enemies and kill them all before slag wears off. Aside from that, I think the best single skill for surviving in this game is situational awareness. This means having good positioning, being aware of where enemies are around you and who poses the biggest threat, making sure you don't just blindly rush into the middle of a bunch of enemies, and being conscious of where your best cover is. And also watch out for barrels. The biggest threat in this game are barrels, guys. Avoid them completely or take them out before you get too close. Before we go, I will talk about raiding a bit. Raiding is kind of its own thing that needs its own guide. I have a lot of raiding content on my channel if you would like to check that out. I will eventually make a dedicated Digistruct Peak guide, but until then feel free to check out my playlist of peak builds or raid boss videos. Some final thoughts, everyone is going to have their own playstyle, guys. Play however you want. I'm just trying to show people how to play this game effectively and that it's not as hard as they think it is, that they don't have to use broken stuff like the bee and the Grog Nozzle. I almost never use that stuff and I do just fine. I personally have a more defensive playstyle so I don't die very much, but there's nothing wrong with having a more aggressive playstyle if that's what you enjoy. Fight for Your Life is a mechanic that allows you to play more aggressively without being punished too much, and in most places death isn't punishing anyway. So play how you want. I just hope this guide can help struggling players realize they don't have to abuse broken meta setups. I frequently use off-meta builds on OP10 with no bar very successfully. I do think it would be interesting to make a video analyzing why this community is so particularly skill-issued, and why popular content creators push misinformation so much, but that's not the point of this video. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing, and before I go, feel free to share your tips in the comments section, guys. Plenty of people have, tips of their own that they've learned over time, so feel free to share any advice you have. Special thanks to my members, and an extra special thanks to my Voracidous Slayers, Evan, Cass, Drake Solidaire, and Jonas Hedberg. Really appreciate your support, guys. But thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe, and be here next time.
I enjoyed that.
What is going on, beautiful people? Welcome to my UVHM guide. In this video, I'm going to try to dispel some of the myths around this game, such as there being no viable weapons at endgame, or being forced to use a Grog Nozzle and a B-Shoal. I'm going to try to teach struggling players what they're missing, and hopefully with a better understanding of the game they can do better. While there are certainly fair criticisms to be made of Borderlands 2, such as stuff like Voracidous, having to run the peak too much, or elements not rolling enough, the most common criticisms are just objectively false. You can check out the entire rest of my channel to see me dominating OP10 with a wide variety of gear. My single biggest issue with this community is the fact that so much of it simply hates the existence of any challenging difficulty that actually requires you to get good to do well. It's okay if you want an easier experience. You don't have to play on OP levels. You shouldn't demand that Gearbox remove any semblance of a challenge for more skilled players like me who enjoy them. Apparently, that's a controversial opinion in this community, that it's good to have a wide variety of difficulty levels so everyone can get the experience they want, but here we are. Anyway,